How's everyone doing? Good? Yeah? Okay, cool. Effective software engineer. But first, of course, thanks to sponsors. We are one of those. So thanks very much. Without those, we wouldn't have such a great event. So, the effective software engineer. So who actually here in the audience wants to work harder? Right? 1, 2, 3. You can just like leave now and really work hard, right? For the rest of us, we now in the next 40 minutes learn a little bit about like how to actually work smarter. So my name is Sven. I work for this small little startup called Manfred in Spain. We're building a career platform for developers right now, where you can just like compare your careers with other developers. And also, if you're living in Spain, we help you find a new job, or if you want, just like, but a little bit different, because people can then, or companies will apply to you instead of you applying to companies. But this talk is not about Manfred. It's more about like the engineers that works at Manfred, but also about like not just about the engineers that work at Manfred, but also the engineers that work at my previous companies like Atlassian and MongoDB. So I wanted to find out like what makes a developer effective, what makes them or an engineer really effective. And I tried to find some patterns within those. So I talked to a lot of engineers, and I tried to find some patterns so you can just like to see what makes them effective. So what is an effective engineer doing? Well, effective engineers write super smart code, right? Code that you normally write in just like 10 lines, like people like me, I'm not super effective. They condense that to actually just 2 lines of code, and you look at that and saying, what? Yeah, okay, yeah, get it. Wow, this is super great, super effective. Then they're fixing bugs immediately. If you come to the office in the morning and say, oh, there's a new bug came in last night, you just like see what's the status, and then said it's already fixed, and said, who did that? It was always the effective engineers that just like saw that just like before they went home last night, and then just like fixed it immediately, and it's done. Super, super effective. Then they're adding features like a champ, right? So also, same story. You go to the Scrum board in the morning and say, like, who is actually taking this story here, this user story? Who's working on that? And then the effective developer raised their hand and said, I already did that. It's actually in progress. You can put that in progress. Actually, you can put it in review, right? Because I already created a pull request, so you can just like review it. Wow, super, super effective. And actually, they never stop. They're always hacking. You see them always hands on the keyboard, right? Always just like hacking. If they run into a problem because they can't go on because they need something from, let's say, design, they just like stop for a second, look at the backlog, grab something next, and continue working, right? Super, super effective. And they live and breathe code. They know the code inside out. You can wake them up in the middle of the night and just like ask them, hey, how can we change this behavior of our web page? And said, yeah, let me just think about it. You go to that class, that function, flip that around, and that will work. Wow, super, super effective, these developers. That was actually me in 2003. I thought I am super effective. Well, I was 3 years in the job, yes, that old dude. So I was 3 years in the job and thought like, okay, I know the code base. I know how to add features. I know how to fix stuff. Great. Now, looking back, actually, almost 20 years, later, I really think like, was I really super effective? Let's take a look at those things again, right? So, super smart code, right? So I was writing really, I just like was thinking, okay, I can do that in code. This is great. So let's just like condense that. Cool. And then I looked at it again a couple of months later and said, ooh, I actually knew at that time it was super smart, but right now I don't really know how it's actually working. So I better don't touch that, right? Tests are passing great, so I better don't touch that code. Right? I was fixing all the bugs. So if a bug came in, I stopped everything else. I was just like jumping on the bug and fixed the bugs. Why would I do it, right? Because I mean, it was my software. I was writing it, and I was super embarrassed that there are bugs in the software, so I just like wanted to maybe cover up a little bit, no? And just like fix that bug so no one actually noticed that there was a bug in my software, and then go on. I should have taken the time actually to fix the root problem, right? Because these bugs came up all the time, and it was just like covering it. But I should have taken the time, 1-2 days, to just like fix the damn root problem. And then I was adding features, right? So people actually came to my office. Yeah, that was the days when everyone was working in the office. Tapped on my shoulder and said, Sven, you know, our customer I just came back from a customer, and they want to have this button where they can download the data as an Excel file. And I said, well, sure, I can do that. Let me just like find a library, how to do this, blah, blah, blah. 2 hours, 3 hours later, I had this button in there that the customer could download the data as an Excel file. Great. They didn't request that feature, right? They wanted to have a backup of their data, and they never actually pressed that button. So I worked on features that get rarely used or actually never used sometimes. I should have spent the time better and work on features that most of our users use. And I never stopped, always hacking. I said that, right? Designer, I was missing some design, so I was just like going in and just like switching to the next bug, so also to the next issue. So also here, this takes a lot of context switching, right? I'm just like working on something, going to work on something else. So this actually requires a lot of context switching. Well, context switching, we know, like when we're in the zone, everything just like flows together and it's great. And if we context switch, it takes maybe half an hour to get back into that flowing state. Or maybe we get never again into that day. So I should have just like said, okay, when are you ready with the design? Just like look at the whole issue or the whole feature that I'm working on. When is the design ready? I need it in 2 days. I won't stop until I have that design ready, right? And then live and breathe code, right? I knew the code inside out. I was like, I knew where things were in the code. Great, because I wrote most of it. But then I was just caring about the code. And I forgot to just like see where is the software going? Like what can I do that our customers are more happy, our users are more happy, right? So I just like was thinking just in code. So all the things that you see on the left-hand side, right, actually makes you actually more efficient, right? It's all about efficiency, where I actually should have worked on the right-hand side, where everything should be more effective, right? Or with other words, if I would have pushed myself just like to have more of those, right? I would have just like pushed myself to fix more issues, just like add more features. So this would actually end up in working harder. Where actually I should have worked a little bit smarter at that time. So that's the talk. The effective software engineer works smarter, not harder. And I want to just like start with some software architecture things, right? So team architecture doesn't mean like how to architect the team, but like how we work together on the architecture as a team. To talk about the human side of things. So I know architects that are just like doing things like this. So here is the architecture, boom, software developers gets it, done, deal with it, right? We know this is not the right thing to do. We need to work constantly on the architecture together with the software developers as a software architect. Someone calls it GSAS, right? Or Sam Brown actually did that, called it architecture as a service. We should go away from that, right? It's not a service. It's just like a communication. Always have an open line, because you are all senior people here, right? So you are technical leaders for those developers, and your technical leadership doesn't stop after the first phase and just like, here's the architecture, go and deal with it. I come back later in I don't know 3 months and look at the code you've written. It's a continuously technical leadership that you're doing. And then when I talk about technical leadership, it's not about just that you lead the teams to make them actually effective, right? You help them to get the right architecture to help them to be more effective. But if you just like do your technical leadership all the same with all the teams, that's not working, because teams are actually different. You need a different leadership style for let's say junior teams, right? You need to just like maybe take junior teams more by the hand and just like explain more, checking more in. But with experienced teams, you need to change your leadership style a little bit because they are pretty experienced. So you can just like explain them the architecture and then just like check in regularly, but you don't have to just like help them and lead them all the time. So also you need to adapt your leadership skills as an architect to work as a team together on the whole software lifecycle. Now, I think we all agree, right? Software architects should write code. They should write prototype code. They should write framework code, and they should write foundational code. But most importantly, they should write production code, right? I think we all agree here. So I told you about the story that I wrote this super, super clever code that I was super proud of, and then I didn't really understand what's going on. So clever code, why did I do that? Because I could, right? I can do that. I learned so much and said, oh, wow, this looks so fancy. I wanted maybe to show off, show my coworkers a little bit like, ooh, look what I can do here with code. I'm that smart. But that was not a good thing. We know that, right? It's simplicity over cleverness. We need to write simple code so the team understands the code. And not just the team, but also me back in the next 3 months. I also want to understand what I've been written, right? So think about that. You write code as a team, and you might be a very experienced software developer, software engineer, great, but not all in the team are that experienced and have so much experience in writing code. So we need to write simple code. So how do you find out that your code is simple enough for the team? You make the canary test. You know, canary birds back in the days when we were just like when people were working in the coal mine, like they took a canary bird with them, air got polluted, canary bird fell down, and everyone has to get out of the coal mine. So how do we do that with code? We show our code to our junior developers and say, do you really get what this kind of code is doing? Maybe they don't understand everything. I mean, maybe they don't have the whole domain knowledge, but do you understand what this code is doing? And they say, yes, I get it. I know what's doing. I get what the code is doing. The code is probably simple enough. So how do you put that in a process? So you just don't show code always to just like, hey, do you think this code is simple enough? Yeah, we invest time in code reviews. Code reviews are a great thing to just like see if your code is simple enough for your junior developers, but also to inspire your junior developers to see like what's possible in code, how you design the code. And of course, we know it's also to ensure a consistent code quality for your code. But it's a little bit hard. Code reviews are quite hard, right? Not everyone just like loves code reviews. It is because our code is on the bench, and people are just like looking at it and give feedback of our code that we have written. And this is constantly. You constantly get feedback about your work. This is pretty hard, right? This is not an easy thing that you know your coworkers are looking at what you're doing all the time. So how can we actually make code reviews a little bit more pleasant? Some rules here to make them easier for actually the people that write the code and put the pull requests out there. So the Bitbucket team actually came up with some rules that they said, okay, we want to, and they built a tool for code reviews, right? I still struggle with code reviews. So they said, okay, we make some rules to make code reviews actually more pleasant. The first rule was to seek to understand. Why does this author put in this code? If you don't agree, just like put yourself in the shoes of the author of the code and just like see, oh, maybe there was no other solution. Maybe that is okay. Or you still don't agree? Great. Criticize ideas and never criticize people, right? This is really a downer if you do that. So never do that. Always criticize just the idea. And if you just like don't agree, that's fine. That's fine. You can just like make a comment, but don't rant, right? And help the people, help the one just like to write better code. Just like make some suggestions and point them to the right direction. Don't show them directly the code and say, yeah, replace that line of code with that line of code. Don't spoon feed, right? So just like just like explain, like I would do things like this on a nice way. And then also, please, 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 be gentle and also comment on positive things. Yeah, if you find something positive, that just like makes you feel real good, right? If someone writes something, say, oh, brilliant, that's a great idea, right? It just like encourages you to do code, to put yourself, to put your code out there to your coworkers. So these are just like a few rules that the Bitbucket team set up. You can make your own rules. Maybe you have your own problems around code reviews. Just like take that as an inspiration to just like make code reviews a little bit more pleasant, and a little bit more human. All right. Second thing I want to talk about is learning. In our industry, learning is so important, and we need to learn constantly to be more effective. When I was a junior developer and I just came from university, I was looking at the first code base that I saw from the company that I worked for and said, whoa, this is possible with code? I didn't know that. Actually, there was also, I was back in the days where continuous integration wasn't really very common. So they had it, and then my code ran tests automatically after I checked it in. Mind blown for me. I was so, I just like thought, oh, this is great. And I learned so much, right? And still in our industry, we need to constantly learn, right? So there's a new technology coming out, I get every day, right? And we need to just like keep up with what's out there. And also this excitement that I had just like in the beginning, right? It's still there, right? We are excited about new technologies. Blockchain, well, let's do that, right? So just because it's there, and just because it's cooler, it's new, it's better, so just like wrap out the old stuff and put in the new stuff. Yeah, that's probably when you're young, you're thinking about that. But then we are also getting a little bit older, right? We're getting a little bit more mature, but more experienced. We have seen things, right? With other words, we say sentences like this here. I'll also survive the microservice and serverless hype, right? That will go over. I will survive that. Really? In your front-end framework again? We just spent the last 3 months to rip out the old one and put in the new one. Scrum boards? I already know what's important. You don't have to tell me. And code reviews, we just talked about that. Not for me. Yeah, I'm happy to review code, but no, not for me. My code is good. My code is brilliant. Yeah, I'm a senior developer. I'm a serious senior developer. With other words, we become a little bit, or you probably know someone in the team that is a little bit like this grumpy developer sitting in the corner and just complaining. Probably have someone, or you have worked maybe with someone at one stage of your career that is a little bit grumpy. But I become also a little bit grumpy myself when I just saw, oh, yeah, really, the youngsters, right? But then you just like ask, those developers say, yeah, I know how to develop software. But what they're really saying is like, I know how to develop software now. And then ask them the questions like, do you think actually software development is changing? Of course it is, right? Just like looking back 10 years ago, there were no containers, and now everything runs in containers. Wow. So it's constantly changing, and we need to constantly keep up with what's out there and know what technologies are out there. We don't have to dive deep into each of those technologies. That would just like be totally draining, and probably we won't have the time for doing that. But we need to know what's out there. So some things here that I or these effective developers do regularly that I found out. So listening to podcasts. So when I commute to work, I listen to a podcast, or when I work out, I also listen to podcasts. So this just like constantly learn and know what's out there. Then, of course, you're doing the right thing. You're here at the conference, great. But also go to meetups. So you meet people. You build your whole network of software engineers that you can tap into in your neighborhood or in your region. What we did at MongoDB was we were having a book club, and that was super, super cool because we were just like reading a whole book. And I'm not a big book reader. You saw I'm listening to audiobooks mostly. But we had a book club, and we were reading a chapter each week. So the team was reading the chapter each week, and then we met for an hour each week and talked about it. And that was, we just talked about what we read, but we also discussed about it, our opinions, And that helped a lot. That helped a lot to just like get also other perspectives, whatever, around what you just read, right? And also about the book. And also what I did, because we couldn't send developers always on conferences all the time, but there's so great videos out there, but not everyone is watching them. So we sat together as a team, decided on what video would we watch on a Friday afternoon before we went into the weekend, and then just like watched the video, had a short discussion about that, and then went to the weekend. That helps also all the team to constantly learn, because sometimes there's times in your life where you maybe don't have the time to just like listen to audiobooks, or just like you maybe have a small family or whatever. So that helps the whole team to constantly learn and constantly keep up with what's out there. Now, the junior developers that I sometimes meet, they say, hey, why should we learn, right? Why should we just do this? All the answers are out there already on Stack Overflow, so we don't have to learn, right? Well, we all know that, yeah, learning is an important thing that we understand, that we make connections in our brain, and just like don't look up Stack Overflow all the time, but we really get the problem and know how to solve it. But it's not just important to just learn. It's also important to get rid of some connections, to learn to unlearn, because some things that we learned are not true anymore. And sometimes you sit there with your old ideas and old perspective of technology, which is not true anymore. The cloud has changed a lot of things, and we need to unlearn a lot of things that we learned before. And you are all just like very senior people. You shouldn't just sit there and just like keep your knowledge for yourself or your experience for yourself. You should also think about like becoming a mentor for younger developers, to just like pass your knowledge on or pass your experience on. And becoming a mentor is so good, and helps also you to improve and to grow. So just like some rules here as we become a mentor, just like keep on listening what the people are saying, what the junior developers are saying to you. Try to ask questions instead of just like giving advices, right? Point them maybe into some directions that they should go, but don't just like advise them to go into that direction. And then always have an open door, right? So always just like say, hey, you can come back all the time, and not just like, yeah, in 2 weeks we have a session again, and they stuck the whole 2 weeks. No, just like try to have always an open door for those people. And then there's a big surprise also coming with it, right? You just like see, oh, I would have solved it differently, but great, wow. So also you are learning something. And maybe the solution that you see that this your mentee is coming up with is maybe even better than yours. So you are also constantly learning from this mentorship that you're doing. So continuously learn, right? So learn is one aspect of it. Then also unlearn things that are not true anymore, and then also advise. But there's one important ingredient missing here in learning. You cannot just learn from books, from other people. You also need to experiment to get yourself into just like doing stuff, right? And trying things out. So you also need to invest time in experimentation. This is another thing that if you want to become more effective. Now, I get this all the time. You know, Sven, you know, why should we experiment? We don't have time for that, because all things we need to do, right, is on that board. Everything is on that board. Well, that's not true. Not everything fits on the board. There's a big backlog, so the rest is somewhere hidden in Jira. Big backlog. But is everything great that we're doing there? Is everything just like pushing our software forward that product managers came up with? Can't be, right? There might be not the best idea that is out there. Maybe some of the cars are probably not the best idea because someone just like thought it's a great idea to do this. So with other words, we have known unknowns. So maybe there's actually a better solution. That's not the first solution might not be the best solution. Maybe there's a better solution out there. Maybe we can just use a new technology and we are reinventing the wheel here. Or maybe there are missing opportunities. We're working on the wrong things. That doesn't help our users or our company to grow, right? With other words, how we can come over this, don't be shy, just try. Try things out, try things yourself. Just like carve out time from a daily work to try things out. Now, this is easier said than done. I know, yeah, the board is pretty demanding, and we just like want to have our burn down charts looking nicely, right? And then letting the team down is also not a good thing. So we need to work together as a team to take time off. So what I did when I was a team lead, I was doing what we called coding sessions. Can be everything, just like to learn a new programming language. So we were doing, trying out TypeScript. We weren't using TypeScript in any new projects that we were planning, but we would just like want to get a feeling for the language, and then we just like said, okay, now we didn't dive deep into it, but we just like did some programming exercises as a team, and then we just like said, okay, now we want to learn Rust, so we just like tried out Rust a little bit. All those things, it's just like 1.5 hours a week that we spent there, which means 1.5 hours we invested time in improving ourselves, and maybe for the next project, we said, okay, yeah, let's do it with TypeScript because we think we can be more efficient with TypeScript. Tools. I heard, so we just like ran a statistic, and software teams use more than 20 tools, right? This is a lot of tools that on a daily basis. So this is a lot of tools. Like, how do you keep up with what's going on with those tools, right? You maybe have just like used it and implemented once, and then now you just like continues to use it. But how do you keep up with the changes? There are updates. There are new functionality. And maybe you just like have a tool and just like don't use it to the full potential. Because you just like use it a tiny feature set of the tool. So also that, take some time to look at your toolings and just like see how can you be more effective with your toolings. And not just like with the ones you have, also try out new tools like Structurizer from Simon Brown. So this is a tool where you just like have your software architecture as code, right? And then have your leveled software architecture. Or try Gitpod, which is an IDE in the cloud, not just an IDE, but the whole development environment is in the cloud and ready to use once you open it. So just like there are so many tools out there, and maybe you're interested in finding out more. So take some time and look at those tools. So also there, just like half an hour each week, or just like 1 hour every 2 weeks, might be enough if you split up your team, and then just like 2 hours of improving. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room that every company wants. Innovation. Everyone wants to be innovative, right? Every company needs to we need to just like be innovative. And then they have innovation teams, yeah, coming up with the brightest ideas. I'm not a big fan of innovation teams because actually, we tried that at Atlassian, and then everyone in the company said, yeah, innovation happens at the innovation teams, not at our teams, it's at the innovation teams. They are doing all the cool new stuff and the innovation, and then they tell us what to do. But, you know, your whole company is just like, has great ideas, right? The problem is never the lack of ideas. I have great ideas, right? You have great ideas, right? The problem is not that you don't have great ideas. The problem is the time to try them out, to see, is that really a great idea, or is it just like, if you try that out, didn't work out really well. So how much time do you need, actually, to try out your ideas? Well, you could do it like what MongoDB does. Every half year, they take a week off. The engineering team takes a week off to do what they call skunkworks. So skunkworks is just like they trying to improve MongoDB, or just like come up with better ways of the daily work, what they can do better. So they invest a whole week each half year on trying things out. But maybe you can do it in 30 hours, or the 24-hour hackathon. And this is actually what Atlassian does. They run this 24-hour hackathon. They called it back in the days FedEx Days, because you deliver something in 24 hours, right? So they called it FedEx Days. And it became super popular until FedEx came then and said, can you please rename it? Because if you Google FedEx, your FedEx Days come up first. And yeah, FedEx was a customer of Atlassian, so yeah, okay. They renamed it into Ship It Days, same thing, right? So 24-hour hackathons during work time, taking off 24 hours. And let me just like dive a little bit more deeper into how these ship-it days are organized. So first is the planning phase. So you should plan the dates ahead of time, 3-4 months ahead of time, so everyone knows when this is happening. So you can plan your releases around that, you can plan your offsites around that, so everyone knows at that day, that's where the ship-it day happens. Then they don't go into the ship-it day and say, okay, what should we do? Of course, they have ideas before, so they just like write them all down and just like try to just like get feedback from other people for the ideas. And then also you want to have more impact maybe and just like find a team to just like build something bigger. So also they're running brown bags before the actual ship-it day to actually find team members. If they need a designer, they just like say, hey, we need a designer for our team or another software engineer. So also here, trying to find a team. And then actually it happens on a Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m., the ship-it day starts, right? They have a big clock in the office that's ticking down. And it is a fun event because you are, and it's because it's so motivating to work on things that you think is a problem and that you want to show the whole company that you can solve this. It's so motivating. It's amazing what people can do in 24 hours. It's really amazing. And don't forget to just like get energized and drink and eat also. Now 24 hours sounds like, oh, a long time. The truth is that most people go home at 8, 9 p.m. and come back at 7 a.m. To continue working on it. There are some people that are super focused and they sleep under their desk, but this is really the exception other than the rule. And then on a Friday afternoon, 24 hours later, 3 p.m. again, the teams are presenting what they have done. Of course, Atlassian is now a big company, so they do quarterfinals, half finals, finals. The voting app is also a ship-it day project, so they have a voting app and then vote for and celebrate for the winner. And then some ideas make it on the product roadmap and some ideas not, probably natural. And then they announce the day for the next hackathon. So also that is just like, they do it quarterly, so just like in 3 months is the next hackathon, so people can just like plan things around it. So the problem was, or not the problem, but the thing was like, the whole company has great ideas. It's not just the engineering team, but it's drawn to the engineering team, right? That they build something in software, great. So Atlassian also want to encourage finance teams, legal teams, marketing teams to just like participate in these innovation hackathon or in the innovation day. So look what the legal team built. That's a hidden whiskey bar in the Sydney office. So once you're in Sydney, just like try to find that hidden whiskey bar behind a bookshelf. It's a socializing place, so it's just like for ways of working, just like to socialize, to just like hide yourself maybe also. So this is what they have built. And they actually give away this unplugged award for people that are not engineers and just like encourage those. It's a special award to encourage those also to participate in innovation days. Now, if you look at the statistic, like how much stuff is shipped and how much stuff is not shipped, right? Shipped and not shipped, boom. That's a waste of time, right? If you look at, and that's even smaller. It's just like for the slide that you can see it actually. It's even smaller what's really shipped and what doesn't end up in the product. Totally failure, like waste of time, right? No, it's not. Because actually you just got 24 hours to know what's not working, right? You don't have to come up with a big project plan and get a team together and build a prototype. No, it's just like everything is done in just like 24 hours. And the company is learning so much what not to do and actually what to do. For example, if you know Jira Service Management came out of a ship-it day. It's now a multi-billion-dollar product, right? So it can also just like be the opposite. So let's do the math here. Every quarter doing a ship-it day means 0.7 hours per week, means 2.7 hours of spending totally in improving. You should have that time, right? You should just like carve out that time from your daily work or from your daily weekly work to just like continuously work on improving what you're doing. So cannot just say that louder, but invest more time in discovery and just like try things out, right? Experiment. Now, but I think what developers actually makes them really effective is to work on what really matters. And we heard that also today before, to just like generate customer value or whatever you would call that. So I just like looked for some videos for some innovative things in cars. And I found this one here. So you can actually control the entertainment system by gestures. Just like showing, you can just like turn the volume up and down. You can pinch zoom into a map. It's cool, right? They actually have a camera in the roof of the car, and just like filming your hand and just like film your gestures. It's cool, super great. That makes me a little bit thinking like, what is actually the problem they wanted to solve here that actually touchscreens can't solve? Okay, yeah, you're, I don't know, 3-4 centimeters away from the screen. Maybe your screen doesn't get dirty, but is that really a problem? I don't know. What's the problem they wanted to solve with that? I mean, they remodeled the whole car. They had to build in a camera. They had to just like build a new software for the entertainment system. I don't know. So, and that happens a lot, right? That people think like, okay, we have to build this thing. This is what we built, without thinking about like, what's actually the problem we want to solve? Why do we want to solve this? Where's the data that this is really a problem? And also, when we solved it, just look at the data. Did we really solve that problem? And is that the best solution that we have? The first solution that we get, is that the best one? Or just like discover more into possible solutions? Well, so also here at Atlassian developed this, what they call a project poster. So a project poster, and they have developed it over years to just like ask right questions, to just like think about what is really the problem we want to solve? What are possible solutions? How do we judge success? All those things. Of course, it's not a poster, it's a Google Doc or a Confluence page, but you just like get it, that you just like think as a team, just like what do we want to solve? And it helps also the team to understand, this is the problem. I don't just like take a user story and just go with it. This is really the problem that we want to solve. Makes sense. So let's go with this. And this is a living document. And the advantage is also if people come in, new people or just like other people from other departments say, why are you doing this? You can just like point to that project poster, and it's everything is in there. Now that you have done the project poster, you of course write some user stories like, as a user, I want a new statistic button so that I can see the number of data sets. Let's say this is a MongoDB user story, so there should be a button. You can see how many documents are in your database, in your MongoDB database. Great, right? It's a good user story. What's the problem? Right? It's not a good user story. So as Yasmin, I want to know the number of data sets so I can plan for growth. Right? So really the problem is that Yasmin just like wanted to see how many documents are in there. Maybe I need to shard my database. Maybe I need to just like get more hardware or whatever, right? So just like, what is the problem you want to solve? Also put that into user stories, right? But who's Yasmin? So Yasmin is a developer in training. So if you build that tool for Yasmin, you would just like maybe put a button in the interface. But Lucas wants to use this CLI interface. So also build something for Lucas. Now, Yasmin and Lucas are not real people, of course. They are made up and they are personas. So also for developers, personas are super important, just like to see like, what are they doing? Why are they solving the problem? What is their background? To just like think more like your users. Now, assume you have all those great project posters, right? You build your project posters, great solutions, blah, 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 blah. But how do you prioritize them? What is the best thing you should work on? What of these stars should I pick here? Well, if you have the choice, I would always go for the happy path in your software, just like where 80% of your users hang out and solve those, right? So you could do something like a journey map to see like, okay, what does the journey look like here, right? So write that down, and then just like, what is the problem that people run into in this whole like journey that they go through your software? And then how do we solve that problem? And of course, you do it for different personas because different personas do it differently here, right? Great. Now you said, okay, wait. We're here at the software conference, right, Sven? Not a product conference. We're not product managers. So the thing is that product managers should take care of all those things. Why are you telling this to me? Say, okay, sorry, I failed. Forget about what I just said. Products, that's the product manager. Sorry for that. So here's a quote. I wish engineers spent less time understanding the problem and more time coding. Who said that? Who said that? Said nobody ever, right? We need to understand the freaking problem, just like to solve it. I mean, really. So you are very experienced, and instead of just like thinking about the technology all the time, you should also think about the product, right? To improve the product. This is super important because you just like, you know the product. You are good to just like help the product managers to build a better product, right? What is possible in software, you can just like advise them. So with other words, you should become a product engineer. I mean, junior developers, maybe they just like take care of the technology and just like learn about it. But once you are 2-3 years in the job, you should just like take care about the product. So what can you do? How can you actually do that? Sounds great. How can you do that? So once your product is maybe you just like have your prototype, just like do some hallway testing with people inside your company. They are also domain experts, so they know the software, they know the users. So also just like do some hallway testing before the product managers go out there and test things with their users. Send your architects or your developers or whoever on support. So actually, their companies having just like these programs that they send their engineers, I don't know, a week, every half year or every quarter into the support organization to just like learn what bothers the customers, what is the problem that the customers have actually, and you're surprised. People come back and say, 20% of the support cases are around that problem, and we can fix that in just like 2-3 days, right? So also send your architects or your developers on support. And also help the product managers understand the metrics of how your users are interacting with the software. You have actually the possibilities to put that into the software to get the measurements and to just like interpret the data together with the product managers. Also be a data detective. Now, I've been talking now for almost 45 minutes about the effective engineer. And I talked about like how you architecture together or code together as a team, and not just you alone. Your junior developers need to understand the code as much as your senior developers. And then you need to constantly learn to keep up what's out there in the world, to see like what are new technologies, and to not dive deep into it, but just like to understand what's going on. And then also experiment, right? Try new things out. Try new programming language. Try new technologies. Try new ideas out to be more effective. And also, and that's the most important thing, work on what really matters, right? What turns the needle for the customers? This is what we should work on. Now, I told you at the beginning, these are just like some patterns. It's not a complete list of things that you should do or need to do. You need to find your own way. And effectiveness is like a little bit wiggle line. It's hard sometimes to measure effectiveness, where efficiency is easier to measure. And I think this is also why we've drawn quickly to efficiency, like fixing more bugs, just like finishing more story points or whatever. So also efficiency is super important. I don't want to say that. So just like spend time on automation, on toolings, just like learn your command line interfaces so you're more efficient, and also just like work on processes so you're more efficient with other departments, have better handover. So with other words, efficiency is about like getting actually more stuff done. So you can't get more stuff done if you're very, very efficient, but effectiveness is about like getting the right stuff done that turns the needle for your customers, or saying like efficiency is all about the output you generate, where effectiveness is about the outcome for your customers, for your users, for your organization. Now, think outcome first, be effective, and get shit done. Thank you very much. You may have heard this morning that we're giving away these cool developer T-shirts so for filling out the survey. So if you didn't get the URL that quickly this morning, there's a link to it. So.
Okay, we have several online questions. First one is, sometimes junior developers are not familiar with technology. How in this case code reviews work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a learning process. Yeah, code reviews can't fix all your learning skills for developers, but code reviews is good to inspire junior developers to see like what's possible with code. But of course, you need to also invest in learning in other learning programs. Code reviews can't just like replace all the learnings, so put them into code camps or whatever. But this is just like one single part of the learning path. Is just the code reviews to just like see what happens in code to learn that, and maybe also if you just like need to educate them, do some pair programming with them before actually you just like throw them into code reviews.
Another question: what videos did you watch on Video Friday?
What videos? I don't know. I don't want to just like recommend any. So just like if you just like think there's a great conference, most of the conferences have videos out there. Just like go through the list. What I did is just like I did a survey with the whole engineering group that we had. What videos should we watch? And then we just like voted for some videos, and then the most voted video we just like we watched then because it was the interest of the engineering group.
Okay. And last question, so juniors are usually shy when doing code reviews for seniors and architects. What are the best ways to encourage them to speak honestly?
Yeah, I think I already said, like, sit next to the junior developers. Don't just like throw them into a tool. They probably are, as this person said, are a little bit shy. Just like do some pair programming with them, and just like, or maybe just like get along, do the code reviews together with them, so that makes it a little bit personal, and then the barrier is not that hard. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sven.
Thank you.
There were some more questions, but I guess you will be in that room during the lunchtime, right? So people can come to you and continue the conversation, right?
Definitely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sven.